What in the world happened here? Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that Perform About 5 Rainbow Magician so you guys don't miss out on any more us content. So out of the weekend here, people kind of figured out, oh hey, we can use Perform About 5 Rainbow Magician here as a tech choice against something like Vanquish Soul. Now, the only reason why this even remotely matters is because your opponent there has to be some sort of set spells and traps here in order to do anything. Because if your opponent has, the player has 0 set spells and traps, all monsters they control cannot attack or activate their effects. So a deck like Vanquish Soul that may not have a lot of spells and traps, you might force them to set, like a Pot of X trap, which is now a tech choice showing up for this deck. If you're forcing them to set something to even be able to play the game, it's quite interesting to be, seeing as a tech choice. And also, this thing has a, if either player sets a spell on trap card while this is in the graveyard, you get to automatically place this card into your pendulum zone. I assure you, that part actually does slightly matter out here for what you're kind of experiencing with this. As YCS had a lot of interesting tech choices showing up. And this was a lot of this has to do with either some sort of tech choice from the YCS, a deck performing very well, or you guessed it, something did very well in a department that people are kind of shocked about. We've seen this happen time and time again out here, where something just shatters expectations and players are left with oh wow, I can't believe that actually did that. Yeah, I can't believe it either. It's why, something like Perform About Rainbow 5 Magician doing well is great. Blazing Carteesia. Draco Tail Innovation. So, Jesse Cotton played, Blazing Carteesia this weekend in the Draco Tail deck. And Monday morning when I woke up, the only thing I saw was, get your Blazing Carteesias now, people. You gotta get them. Okay. There's this little thing called the Albaz deck that is coming out later this year that's a chronicle of all of the adventures of Fallen of Albaz. And a lot of people were very, very excited for this, which I think we are in August here. So granted, I guess you've technically got 8-9 weeks, so 2 months of playtime without the potential of having this support helping you out. So I guess that is something to consider. If you're like, hey, I don't know if I really, want to, pick up Blazing Carteesias right now, just wait the 8-9 weeks. That's fine. You've also got other builds that you can mess around with. King of the Swamp has been a pretty big one that we've been seeing on the regional level, actually very, very large. There's also the Canine build, if you want to go with that, but I think the Blazing Carteesia built-in package is just, it looks a little bit better than the rest. But once again, this is going to come down to player preference. Having access to King of the Swamp does give you, I would consider, slightly better extract. If you're playing the Canine stuff, you get some hilarious interactions to some of the extra deck options, like, the Ripper. You can play the Shadal package in with that as well. Being able to special summon level 5 Shadal, there's a lot to really analyze with that package. So Blazing Carteesia is a result of the name attached to its victory run this weekend, and I think it's really cool to see that doing well. Oh boy. Carteesia yummy. So I was like, everybody and their mother out of this weekend's YCS was all calling for the same thing. We want to see something in Yummy get bought up. Something's going to happen. And I went out on a limb and said, yeah, probably after a YCS, you're going to see people picking up copies of cards from the set, just as an opportunity to get them and be able to, play the deck. And Carteesia Yummy was a $12 card. Now, we were at 28 listings as of filming this, and the card's already bumped up to about $14. So, the uptick begins. Hey, you could have bought a Yummy core. You know, the little micro gains on these things. I mean, you could have bought the core from, once again, I mean, every card was $10 across the sun. Now you're adding an extra $12 onto the price of the core. That doesn't seem like a lot. But, you know, the early bird catches the worm, as we like to say out here when it comes to these sort of things. And I don't know why somebody's going to complain about this. Going to be like, oh, Yummy's going up. This is BS. You should have bought the deck when you had the chance. You're just bitching to bitch at this point in time. That's one of the crazy things about the internet, man. People are going to complain no matter what. But I will say, Yummy did prove itself to be the best deck in the room. There shouldn't be any real argument about that, because just looking at the way the meta was, everybody expected Yummy to break the mold, and Triff was the one that ended up pulling the trigger and making the deck crazy good. And that's a good thing, guys. You actually have an actual challenge that broke the meta, and that's a good thing. Alright? Shadal Genius. Do I need to say that to you again? Shadal Genius. So, to my knowledge, this card was already spiking up, what was it? Earlier in the year, it was like an $8 card. Yeah, your lowest listing this morning is, you have one for $14, and you go up to $16. Now, why is this card so gosh darn important? It's what? Flip, target a Shadal in your graveyard this turn. Face of monster is unaffected by monster effects. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a effect monster on the field. Players cannot activate that target's effects on the field this turn. Now, you can only use one Shadal effect per turn, and only once that turn. This is also an Earth Machine. Now, if you know how the Shadal archetype works, being able to send an Earth monster in combination with your other Shadal stuff actually gives you access to some pretty crazy things. So this also blanks a monster effect, which is kind of crazy. Especially, this thing was from, Ghost from the Past? Wow, that's crazy. That was peak COVID. If you guys remember how crazy that actually was for getting product and how slow it was ramping up to see those sorts of, pushes and cards. So to see that something from that era has not gotten a reprint, there's a lot of little cards from that era that still remain kind of unchecked in terms of, reprint equity. Especially, go take a look at Ghost from the Past. You'll be surprised. You got stupid things in here like Meteor Black Comet, Cypher X Dragon. Even the evenly match from this set is starting to gain a little bit of traction. You'd think with how much aggressively Konami pushes cards in the reprint department, they would be cratering some of these big things, but no, it does not appear to be the case across the board. And then tin pre-sales. So this is very interesting. So the special editions of the tins are pushing $18 a piece on TCG Player. Now, I believe next Saturday we should see our last reveal for the tins. We do not know if Tactical Tri is in the tins. We do not know if a lot of things are in the tins this year. Perulia is still kind of scraping by also as an afterthought right now, but that's kind of what it is right now. The question remains here, what's going to be the big last secret card? I don't know, but if you're looking at getting tins, you might be able to find slightly better deals. Obviously, I recommend checking out Kong's and seeing, what they're going to be pushing on future stuff, because I'm very curious as well. A lot of the long term on the tins this year is going to be very, very much determined by what that last big import is, and if the malt Charmies are in here. If the Charmies are not in here, especially something like Perulia, a lot of people are going to be pretty sad, because that means that the rest of the year is going to be a little bit of a barren wasteland in terms of things. And that's a 3 to 4 month time span of really nothing crazy, and that's not really a good thing. That's not what you want to be seeing right now for the game. So what do you guys think about all these little movements? Honestly, Perform Pal 5 Rainbow Magician is quite hilarious, actually. But you gotta love innovation, man. It gets a chance to shine. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back. You'll learn day, guys. Peace out.
Patrons, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.